Caru Prabhu, as you may know, is from, of course, he spent a lot of time in Utah. Caru Prabhu is a disciple of our founder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He has been serving ISKCON for many decades now. And you know that under his leadership, the big temple in the Spanish Fort in Utah was built. In fact, he has not just built one temple, I think multiple temples now. Yeah. I've been two, right? In downtown Salt Lake City, I've been to that temple also. It was beautiful. At least that time it was under construction. I'm sure it's open for a long time. So beautiful Vedic style temple Caru Prabhu has built pretty much all by himself. And as you know, that is also the brain, like the main, like a person who started this whole entire holy festival. And it's a big kind of a success in Utah. And many organizations have copied that model and they have started a holy festival. But Prabhuji has been doing this for quite some time. And not only that, he's busy, giving a radio talk, radio shows, and he has a Lama shows. So many things happen. It's really amazing what Caru Prabhu has done in that Salt Lake City, the Utah area. So actually for our Rath Yatra, he flew in from Utah. I think he took a red-eye flight from Salt Lake City, and he was there for the Rath Yatra yesterday. And how many of you liked Prabhu's rap?
Haribo! Haribo!
Thank you, Caru Prabhu. So let's welcome His Grace Caru Prabhu with a loud Haribo.
Haribo! Haribo! Haribo!
Thank you. It's always a privilege and an honor, even though we're credited with having built 2 temples in Utah. Your effort here is much more Herculean, much more epic, right out of the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
It's very loud. It's very loud. You can't hear anything.
I was here when you first started the fundraising. You brought me here, I don't know, 12 years ago to talk about our temple had already been opened. It opened in 2001. And at that time, there were so many legal fees to be paid to the city, as well as lawyers, objections from the neighbors. Some members were pulling out. Some members had given $20,000 and were pulling it back out again. The difficulties were in the natural. They were unsurmountable, practically speaking. So many and so formidable. It would have been easy to get the press to throw in the towel and say we did our best. But Madhana Gopal, Nilamani, Chamakun, honestly, they've stayed the course. They've stayed the course, and here we are, a number of years later. Temple's 90+% completed. They just took me on a tour of it. I mean, I am so honored to be here and get the dust from the feet of all the devotees who have come so far against so many obstacles. But don't get comfortable yet. There's still a ways to go. So knuckle down, finish what you started. Let's get her done. Oh my God, rather all these things have become so little. I don't know why it's doing that.
Oh, it's because we connected our screens, so everything's become, yeah.
You have your notes are okay?
I can't see the notes. So I'll just have to go to reverse mode.
Is it Keynote?
No.
It's Keynote.
Let's say a few prayers on you.
Yeah.
Magic. Om Mani
Grandasya Gyana Jana Shalakaya.
Sri Chaitanya Ravishtam Sapitam Yenamutai Sayam Rupa Karamyam Dharati Savanamitam Vandeham Sri Guru Sita Padakam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Saritam Sahagana Sagana Rajanatam Vikam Sam Sajevam Sadvaitam Siddharutam Pujijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishikam Sahagana Krishna Prasaya Buddha Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Vinayam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavali Vasyada Desadharine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, let's see, place like you better know. See, nope, I'll have to do without them, which is okay. Mhm. This is okay. Oh, no, that's not good. We want to hide in it. Okay, I can just do it this way, then I'll just go manually from out. Okay, we need to go back to the way it was. Go play. Go down. I need to go to then showing the notes up there. Doesn't show, does it show the notes? No, we won't. Let me just do it this way. No? The picture's taking up all the space. Right, that's the problem. So can you just go back and undo what you did? So that I can just go to rehearse slideshow? That should be good now. Here we go. This should work. Yeah, I will see that. Okay. No, don't. No. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Well, thanks very much for coming. Let's start out on a kind of a lighthearted note. We've all heard this somewhere. I'm not sure where. Maybe Jim Carrey or Morgan Freeman, something. But you've heard this before. It's all good. You heard that? It's all good. So can you say after me? It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good. Okay. No matter how successful we are, and I'm looking at a room full of successful people by most standards, we're going to face challenges in life, struggles, instances where things don't go the way we planned, and not in our time schedule. But even though things don't go according to our plan, the good news is that things are going according to Krishna's plan. With him, we can find meaning in adversity. When things are darkest, when the challenges are bigger, even seem unsurmountable, the odds are against you, that's when actually you can find Krishna most present in your life. Those struggles will come our way, come into our life, not randomly, not accidentally, but they're sent by Krishna to strengthen us and take us to the next level of Krishna consciousness. Vedaham samadhitani bhavani mantra sarvam chambedi param. Because I know past, present, and future. That teenager who's just convinced that this girl is the girl for him, the love of his life, but his mother's not so sure that she's a girl of good character. Finally, he gets a Dear John letter, she breaks it off, and he thinks, I can't live without her. My life is over, that's all she wrote. This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to me. When Krishna sees 20, 30 years down the road, when you're married to a girl that didn't have the sizzle factor, she wasn't as good looking, she was more plain, there wasn't that love or lust at first sight, but you followed the advice of your parents who know more than you and have your best interest at heart. You married her, you raised children, and over the course of 10 or 20 years of marriage, you have awakened a deep, powerful, fulfilling love for her. On the other hand, you've gotten news that that girl that you couldn't live without is on her third divorce, and you say, Krishna, thank you. Can you say with me, it's all good?
It's all good.
Krishna knows the beginning from the end. He knows the dead ends, he knows the shortcuts, he knows where the speed bumps are in the road, the things that are going to cause you heartache and pain. Life is full of things that we don't like, but the fact that we don't like them doesn't mean that Krishna didn't send them for our own good. Adversities, enemies, critics, backstabbers, friends who betray us. You didn't get the promotion even though you're the most qualified person in the office, that door slammed in your face. Generally speaking, we see these things as negative. That was bad, that didn't work out, my prayers didn't get answered. Krishna, why did you allow this to happen? And with less faith, with less background, and less training in the goodness of God, it would be very easy to get discouraged, to lose your passion. But here, our message today is that Krishna would not have allowed that diversity into your life unless he was somehow going to use it for your good. And that means that everything, not just some things, but everything that happens in life, you may not understand it, it may not make sense to you, but here's the bottom line. If you keep the right attitude, that's going to serve to push you further into your destiny. That will strengthen you and help to make you the men and women of faith that God created you to be. Those closed doors, the delays, the person that did you wrong, Krishna is saying this afternoon, it's all good. I'm in control. I'm still on the throne. It may not feel good or convenient right now, but if you'll just do your part and trust me, just trust me, have faith in me, that's the key. That will be the turning point. How you react in the darkness, in the negative situation, when the odds are against you. How you react is going to determine whether you come out of that situation and when you come out of that situation. And if you do your part and keep a good attitude, keep going to the temple, keep chanting Hare Krishna, keep smiling, keep trusting the Lord's going to not only get you through that situation, but he's going to bring you out twice as well off as you were before it happened. Prahlad Maharaj testifies to this fact. In the 7th canto, Prabhupada talks about Prahlad. He says, one has to be an advanced devotee to understand how Krishna's direction is going on. Don't think that things are taking place automatically. Prabhupada says, even, and I would add to that, especially, not even, but also especially in an adverse condition, a devotee does not see that this thing is happening randomly, whimsically. Even in the adverse condition, or especially in the adverse condition, devotee doesn't feel pain, he doesn't lose heart, he doesn't drop in his enthusiasm. He thinks even this adversity is not outside the will of the Lord. A co-worker plays politics, denies you that promotion, they leave you out of an early morning meeting. It's all good. Krishna allowed it. He's going to use it. You tried. The business didn't make it. The circumstances were against you. The economy wasn't right. Our encouragement is, nevertheless, don't give up on your dreams, because it's all good. It's all part of the process. Krishna's building you up, strengthening your muscles for the influence and the power that he intends on giving you down the road. What to speak of Prahlad being poisoned and thrown under the feet of war elephants and put in a burning cauldron. How about how we react to ordinary, quotidian things? How do you react when you get stuck in traffic? Do you get frustrated? Do you start muttering expletives under your breath? Do you give a salute to the person who cut you off in traffic? Do you let that pettiness ruin your whole day? Or do you know that Krishna's directing your steps? He's teaching you patience. Has it ever occurred to you that when you're stuck in traffic, you might have been on an alternative route going 90 miles an hour and been in a terrible accident? Maybe Krishna's saved your life by having you take that route and get stuck in traffic. Let's keep the right perspective, thinking, knowing that it's all good. And all this boils down to is one simple thing of trusting Krishna. We're not going to understand everything that happens. You try and figure it all out, you're going to get frustrated. God is God. He is not under any obligation whatsoever to explain things to us. In fact, he's known for being shifty, untrustworthy, underhanded. Why does Krishna have this reputation? Why is Krishna's reputation so bad that when he says something valuable, he says to Arjuna, you tell the people because they may not believe me. I may not have credibility. Krishna is hard to predict. He's hard to second guess, because if he told you, you were going to have this difficulty on this date, this is going to be the nature of the difficulty, this is going to be the duration of the difficulty, this will be the date you come out of the difficulty, and these are the lessons that you learn from the difficulty, what's missing in all of that? Faith. Where's the room for faith? How are you going to develop your trust to the Lord if he told you everything up front? We may not understand everything that happens. There's a reason for that, and the reason is to develop your trust in Krishna. I may not like it, Krishna, I may not understand it, but I believe that this is going to do a good in me. And here's a point also. Some of the things that Krishna has in your future, he has them in your future. That dream that you want to accomplish, that temple you want to build, that mission, that charity, that child you want to raise. Krishna wants that, but he doesn't want to release it to you right now. Because if you had it now, it would not be a blessing, it would be a burden. You who are parents, has your child ever come up to you and wanted something very badly? It wasn't a bad thing, but you thought that if they were a little immature, it wouldn't be good for them. And so you didn't say no. What did you say? Not yet. But what did the child hear? No. The child got all bombed out, threw a tantrum, screamed and cried, maybe even punched you with a little fist and all that. You did not say no. You basically agreed that, yes, I will provide that for you, but in the right time, when it will do the most good. I'm not going to give it to you now because it would actually be harmful. So Krishna, sometimes we have a perfectly good dream. We don't see why it shouldn't come to pass right now. There may not be any physical reasons why it should not come to pass. But Krishna's more interested in what's happening to you while you're working on the project. He's more interested in your character development than he is in the date that that project becomes successful, okay? So he's developing your character in all of this, growing you up. That boss who gets on your nerves, the coworkers who don't treat you right. You keep trying to pray them away. But could it be that Krishna is using them as part of his plan to make you a better version of yourself? He's using that coworker as sandpaper to rub the rough edges off of you. You're trying to pray away that coworker. Well, if that coworker left, or if you quit that job and took another to get away from that coworker, can I tell you, Krishna's going to send 2 more just like him. So really, we only have one option in adversity. It's not to get all resentful, bitter, dispirited, discouraged. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't back off. Don't relent. Dial up the intensity rather than dialing down the intensity. Keep your mouth shut. Don't insist on having the last word. Don't insist on being right. Continue being respectful. Have a smile on your face. Be good to people even when they're not being good to you. We oftentimes could not develop our character without the abrasive elements in our life. We may not like that person, but bottom line, end of the day, it's all good. Krishna is asking you this afternoon, do you trust him with the negatives? Do you trust him with the closed doors? Do you trust him with the unanswered prayers, with the things you don't understand? Well, here's a news flash. Krishna's ways are better than our ways. The Lord works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. He plants his footstep on the sea and rides upon the storm. Deep in unfathomable minds of never-failing skill, he treasures up his bright designs and works his never-failing will. Ye fearful saints, fresh courage take. The clouds you so much dread are full of mercy and will break in blessings on your head. Judge not the Lord by feeble sense, but trust him for his grace. Behind a frowning providence, he hides a smiling face. His purposes will ripen fast, unfolding every hour. The bud may have a bitter taste, but sweet will be the flower. Blind unbelief is sure to err and scan his work in vain. God is his own interpreter, and he will make it plain. So sometimes we're so set on having it our way that we lose our faith in Krishna. Can you imagine this? We lose our faith in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all material and spiritual worlds. We lose our faith in Krishna. Can you believe it? Because he didn't do what we told him to do. We lose faith because Krishna didn't follow my order. Can you imagine that? How dare he? So the difference is that when you develop trust, deep, unbudgeable trust, you let Krishna do it his way because you know it's all good. Now if the door opens, you thank him. And guess what you do if the door doesn't open? You thank him. You thank whatever happens, we say it's all good. And I think you'll agree that trusting Krishna, glorifying Krishna, coming to the temple, associating with the devotees, it's all dead easy. It's all simple. When we're blessed, when everything is going our way, it's easy to chant Hare Krishna. When we're in a comfortable temple amongst our friends, surrounded by a successful and affluent congregation. But it is another thing to continue to trust Krishna when we find ourselves in a family, for instance, where there's dysfunction, where there's constant bickering, constant friction. It's not as easy to praise Krishna, for instance, when we're unemployed, we've been laid off. It's not as easy to praise Krishna when we end up among those who have been divorced, or we are physically crippled, mentally handicapped. It's not easy to trust Krishna when our life is overshadowed by a diagnosis of a terminal disease. It's not easy to praise Krishna when we get aged and alone. Maybe we're shelved away in a lonely rest home where even our relatives and friends have forgotten us and visit us very seldom. It's not easy to praise Krishna when our daytime waking life can be almost nightmarish. But here's a fact. There's often overlap between adversity and blessings. It's often impossible to paint it black and white, to say this is where the one stops And this is where the other starts, because blessings and adversities are commingled into one pattern by Krishna. There is a conclusion, however, that's obvious to those of faith, that if we're to praise Krishna, we should do so not only for our blessings, but for our adversities as well. One devotee said, "My life is but a weaving between my Lord and me. I cannot choose the colors, but he worketh steadily. He often weaves sorrow, and I in foolish pride forget he sees the upper, and I the underside. Not till the loom falls silent and the shuttle ceases to fly will Krishna unroll the canvas and reveal the reasons why. The dark threads are as needful in the weaver's skillful hand as are the threads of gold and silver in the pattern that he has planned." How many of you know of Helen Keller? What were her handicaps?
She was both blind and deaf.
And mute. as
And mute.
well.
Well, yeah.
So you think you have it bad? You're feeling sorry for yourself? Helen Keller, blind, deaf, and here's what she said. "I am so thankful for my handicaps, for through them I found myself, I found my work, and I found my God." And she went on to say, all things, not some things, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. Now, they may not seem good at the time. It may be pitiful to go through the loss of a loved one. It hurts when people do us wrong, especially those in whom we repose our trust. It's discouraging when a dream doesn't work out. By itself, it may be true to say, it's not good in isolation, out of context, but Krishna promises you that he will bring it together. He promises you that one day you'll look back on that situation and say, it was all good. I heard about this couple. They used to volunteer at the hospital. For years, they went regularly, 2-3 times a week. And one day, the man parked his car in the parking lot, he's crossing over into the hospital. Someone comes around the corner, breaking the speed limit, hits the man, flips him all the way over his truck, and he lands on his head. Well, he was right near the emergency room, so they took him in and they took scans to see if there was bleeding in his head. While they were there, they thought we might as well take scans, whole body scans, to see if there's also any internal injuries and bleeding there. Guess what? When they took the body scans, they discovered a tumor on his liver that was just on the verge of metastasizing. The doctor said had they not discovered that tumor at that time, within a few days, it would have spread throughout his whole body and he would not have lived another 3 months. So let me ask you, was getting hit by the car good? Or was it bad? It's all good. Even things that at the time seemed bad. Doing a good deed, volunteering at the hospital, getting hit by a car. Krishna, how could you, what are you thinking? How could you let this happen? But he's still on the throne. He knows what he's doing. At a time when most people would say, oh man, you're unlucky. You know, what good is devotional service doing for you? Krishna has you in the palm of his hands. He doesn't allow anything to happen to you that can't ultimately bring good out of it. We have to do our part. We have to trust him, even though we can't see it. Someone might say, Caru, my adversities haven't done anything but pull me down, drag me down, keep me from my purpose. Well, maybe you haven't seen the good come out of it yet at this date, at this point in time, but you have to be honest enough to admit that you don't know what Krishna's doing behind the scenes. He's within every atom. He's in everyone's heart. He's even in the heart of your enemies. He knows what they're going to do before they even know. Maybe it just hasn't come together. Maybe you shouldn't draw a premature conclusion and get all discouraged. Maybe you should just keep on chanting, keep on associating with the devotees, keep on having a good attitude, and keep your faith strong, not getting discouraged. think that Krishna knows what he's doing, if you keep honoring, doing your best, then your time will come. Your season will come. And you can end up twice as well off as you were before. Krishna, I don't like these people in my job. They're negative. They gossip. They compromise. When is Krishna going to move me out? Just maybe Krishna has you in that job amongst those people on purpose to let your light shine as a devotee, to show people that your buttons aren't pushed when their buttons are pushed, to show people that there are fellow human beings who can have different priorities, different levels of faith, who can react differently in times of stress. You're there to be a good influence on them. So quit fighting everything you don't like. It is said that the steps of a good person are ordered by the Lord. So if you're in that environment, then Krishna ordered your steps. You're where you're supposed to be. And so the inconvenience, the delays, the unfair situations, you may not like them, they may be uncomfortable, but instead of resisting them, why don't you embrace them and bloom where Krishna has you planted right now? And it's true, where you are is probably not where you're meant to be, but when you move on and how far you move on is dependent upon how you react in the here and the now. Krishna, this is where you have me right now. I'm overqualified for this. I'm overqualified for this job. These people are petty. I deserve better association, a higher brand of people. But I know that you have me here for a reason, so I'm going to do my best. I'm not going to be dragged bound by them, but I'm going to shine my light and help them to come up higher. What I'm basically saying, to paraphrase all that, is, Krishna, it's all good. From the Ramayana, what worse thing could happen than on the eve of his coronation, there was a conspiracy in the palace, and instead of being coronated as the king of the known world at that time, Ram was sent off in disgrace to spend 14 years in the exile. What greater setback, what greater betrayal could we imagine? Bharat was away at the time. And when he came back and he heard what his mother had done, he was aghast. He set off to overtake Ram. Ram had gone a couple days away. And Bharat came, and half the citizens of Ayodhya accompanied Bharat to where Ram was sojourning for the night. So when Bharat came and the citizens of Ayodhya arrived in the presence of Ram in his way station, Ram was heard for the first time. The news of his father's demise landed on him out of the blue. Unexpectedly, our father has died. Ram looked at Bharat, he looked at the citizens, he assessed their grief, their loss, their discouragement, their dispiritment, and whatever temptation he had to give away to grief, he tamped that down. He pushed it down because he saw that those people needed him to be cool and calm and collected. And rather than lose it all and be dispirited, Ram's attitude was, it's all good. And he starts to preach. This is, in my opinion, the Ramayan's version of the Sermon on the Mount. Keeping his own grief in check, Ram tells Bharat and thousands of people with him, he says, no man is free to act whimsically as he pleases. In this world, the embodied soul is dragged here and there by the all-powerful force of providence. And no one can control or dictate to that force. All gains will end in loss. Every meeting ends in separation. And all life ends in death. A ripe, luscious fruit, what is its fate? It's going to fall. There is no other end for any of us than death. So Ram is saying, where's the surprise here? You didn't know that Dasarath would die? You didn't know that? This is unexpected to you? We all die. He says, as soon as you're born, you start to die. And everyone's listening with rapt attention. You could hear a pin drop. There wasn't even a bird cheeping in any nearby tree. And Ram says, the days of our life pass like the waters of a quickly flowing stream. Our lifespan is so quickly exhausted, even as the summer sun sucks up the water in a lake. He says to everybody, there's only one person you should grieve for, and it's not Dasara. Who is it? It's yourself. Each and every one want to grieve. Grieve for yourself. Why do you grieve for another? For each and every one of us, it's true to say that death is our constant companion. Death walks with us, sits with us. When we go abroad, death travels with us. When we come back home, he returns with us. And each and every one of us has embarked on the very same path that has been trodden by our father Dasara, and we will join him in due course. Let us therefore throw off grief and dedicate ourselves to the pursuit of piety, by which we too shall attain the blessed regions attained by the king. So there are thousands and thousands of people with their ears, Prabhupada would say, as big as elephants. Even the animals were quiet. And Ram concludes, Father has shed his old and worn out body, and now with an ethereal and undecaying form, he sports in great happiness. Rather than grieve for him, we should now carefully do his bidding. You, Bharat, should go back and rule the kingdom, while I will remain in the forest until 14 years have expired. This will ensure our welfare both in this world and the next. Under no circumstances should we disobey our virtuous father. And when Ram stopped speaking, Bharat bowed down, grasped his feet, and he replied, my brother, your position is so glorious. You are never dejected in adversity, nor exhilarated at finding joy. You are always able to distinguish truth from untruth. How do we apply it in our lives? Those bad breaks that you experience, can I tell you, they were part of the plan of Krishna to get you to where he wants you to be. That betrayal felt bad, but the truth is it was good. Another step on the way to your destiny. It might have been wrong. It might have been something you didn't like. You certainly didn't understand it, but looking back right now on that incident, you wouldn't change a thing. Without that disappointment, you would not have become the person that you are today. And here's one more point. Sometimes your enemies will do more to promote you than your friends. They don't realize that Krishna is using them to light a fire on the inside of you. Sometimes Krishna uses your enemies to light a fire on you, to inspire you to sit, pray bold prayers, to declare Krishna's favor, to go the extra mile, to stay focused and fight the good fight of faith. The enemies meant to discourage you. They meant to harm you, but it ended up acting for your own good. From 75 to 77, I was the president of the San Francisco Temple, and part of the duties was to organize the annual Rath Yatra Festival in Golden Gate Park. In 1977, we were gathered at the entrance of the park across from the Japanese tea gardens, ready to start the Rath Yatra parade. I hired a bagpipe band to go ahead. And I just happened to be standing near the bagpipers when I overheard one bagpiper talking to another one. The first bagpiper said, how come we're playing for the lunatic fringe? The second bagpiper said, I don't know, I guess their money's also green. You know, those words cut me. They hurt me. But they also caused something hard, something to calcify inside me. You know, I said, I will now dedicate my life to making sure that the Hare Krishnas don't end up as a fringe religion. I will do everything within my power in the days that remain to me to spread our influence far and wide, to make a difference in world affairs, to have people consult us on matters of state and matters of policy and matters of ecstasy. I will do as much as I can in this life to take those words and shove them back down the throat of foolish people who utter them. That was a defining moment for me. That sharpened my focus. Now we have a radio station that you can hear all over the world. We built 2 temples from the ground up. We have the biggest color festival in North America. Now I should thank those bagpipers, I should thank them. Maybe if I ever meet them again, take them out and buy them a veggie burger or something. I don't know. But often you see your enemies can do you more good than even your well-wishing friends. Oftentimes we can take a good situation, and what to speak of others, we create havoc in what would have otherwise been an ideal situation. We are the ones who take love and pervert it into lust. We are the ones who have created the crises of poverty, the intolerance, the oppression that exists all over the world. God didn't create that. That's all our doing. We make society a seething cauldron of crime. We bring in corruption. We bring in combating forces, dissension, vitriol, aggression. We take paradise and turn it into a pigsty. We rape and ravage the natural resources of our world and turn gardens into garbage dumps. Oftentimes, it is we ourselves who are the causes of our own adversity. That gives us one additional reason to always sing the praises and glorify Krishna, because in doing so, we recognize that there isn't anyone who is capable of absorbing our mistakes, our fault, our pollution, and turning it into a force for good. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's all good. Even your enemies. Quit complaining about the opposition. They don't control your destiny. Krishna does. Krishna is developing your character, strengthening your spiritual muscles. When you reach the other side of that opposition, the other side of that betrayal, the other side of those circumstances, you will realize that they were sent your way for the purpose of strengthening you for what Krishna has in mind for you in the future. He's building you up for more influence, more power, more preaching. When hard times come, dare to pray, Krishna, I don't understand it, but I trust you. Krishna, it doesn't make sense right now, but I'll know that you'll bring it all together, and someday I will say, even of this situation, it's all good. And we have to start seeing our challenges through the right lenses. Having the right outlook is the key to finding strength in adversity. We face times, every one of us, without exception, when life doesn't make sense. A relationship ends. We lose a loved one. A dream dies. We come down with an illness. Nothing about the situation seems good. It goes from bad to worse to worse. Good is the last word sometimes we use to describe our current circumstances. We might even go so far as to say we go through periods of tragedy. Nowadays especially, people are facing huge challenges. And for many people, it's very hard to trust that God can turn the things that we're facing around for good. How is Ukraine going to end up good? How is Gaza going to end up good? How is the loneliness of an old person in an assisted living home going to end up good? How is betrayal good? How is death good? Well, let me finish with one story. The story of Vritrasura. As you know, in his past life, he was He was full of blessings. Everything was good. He was riding his aerial chariot, known as Chitraketu, and through no fault of his own, he was unfairly cursed by Parvati to take a low birth in a race of demons. Now, he didn't have a pity party. He didn't rant and rave and say, woe is me, it's so unfair. Why did God do this? He accepted that curse with grace. He accepted the unfairness. And according to the mandate which had been given him along with that body, he began to terrorize the universe and do the best job he could of terrorizing the universe so that all the more quickly Krishna would take steps and finish him so that he can then go back and be amongst the devotees. He became such a problem that there were big arrangements made for his demise. You all know the story that Dichi donated his bones, and then there was an Orion Kabacha, and Indra was drafted to use his thunderbolt, and Indra was sent into battle, and the battle went very well for Indra. It wasn't like Indra was losing the battle. He'd severed Brikasura's arm. He was bleeding profusely from all kinds of wounds, but for some reason, even though he had Brikasura where he wanted him, and he had the guarantee of Vishnu and Adichi and all the demigods that he'd be successful, at the very moment when he should have been most triumphant, Indra became discouraged. He wasn't thinking, it's all good. He was thinking, this can't be good, this can't be good. And he couldn't launch the coup de grace. He couldn't finish off Vritasura. Now Vritasura, this should have been the worst moment of his life. He was humiliated, he was down on the ground, he was defeated, all of his lusts were taken away. He was missing one arm, he must have looked mutilated, grotesque, ugly, and it falls to Vritasura to become glorious by preaching to Indra and giving him a pep talk that he should kill him. This should have been the very worst moment of Vritasura's life and the very best moment of Indra's life, but because of their respective attitudes, Indra goes down as ignominious, confused at best, and Vritasura, in the moment that should have been his very worst moment, under unbelievable, unimaginable adversity, he's the one that comes through as the hero. We're sitting here in New Jersey glorifying him thousands and thousands of years ago. There's even a little town in Utah called Spanish Fork where they also glorify Vritasura. And when you're in the heat of battle, it's easy to get discouraged. But it all comes down to attitude. Someone said once with great sagacity, life is 1% of what happens to you and 99% your attitude towards it. As far as Vritasura is concerned, though some would have called it a day of defeat, a day of mutilation, a day of humiliation, a day of death, he called it his day of liberation, his day of restoration, his day of vindication. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So in conclusion, our theme today is, it's all good. It may not be good right now. It may not make sense on its own, but Krishna knows how to bring it all together. What you think is going to stop you, set you back, cause you heartache, I can tell you, if you stay in faith, one day you'll look back and say, this was good. You may not be able to see it right now, but one day you will. When Krishna vindicates you, when Krishna heals you, when Krishna promotes you, restores you, when he prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemy, when he pays you back double for that difficulty, that's when defeat turns into victory. I'm asking you today to trust him. And it may be a dark day in your life. There may not be any reason to call it good separately, but don't worry. Light is coming. Krishna is still on the throne. Krishna, in fact, is the only strength for us that will never fail. Krishna and Krishna alone can give us the tools to accomplish any task. Krishna and Krishna alone can give us the stamina and courage to endure any suffering. Krishna and Krishna alone can give us the light to find our way in the most dense and dread-filled darkness. Krishna, and Krishna alone can give us the key that will unlock any door, even the door to the spiritual kingdom, the door to a life of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. Therefore, in any and all circumstances, praise the Lord by chanting His holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, thank you very much for your kind attention. Are there any questions?
Prabhuji, what is the radio station? How can we tune into it?
Well, you need an app, but they're mostly free. We use something called Simple Radio, and then there are all these stations. There are other Krishna stations there. Just look for 1480 KHQF, and then you should be able to stream it wherever there's Wi-Fi.
I think we have a link on the Utah Krishna's website, right? On the Utah Krishna.
Yeah, we have a link too. Yeah, we were talking at Nisha and Devi's house today about some of the vintage program. Radha Swami visited us a few years ago. We had a program for him at the Salt Lake Library. About 400 people came. Someone asked him about his book, The Journey Home. And of course, Bhakti Tirtha Swami had asked him to write that book as his dying wish. Radha Swami did not want to do it. But Bhakti Tirtha Swami had asked him his dying wish. And so Radhanath shared with everybody, he said, when it came down to us, it wasn't that difficult because I had told everything to Charu for KHQ radio. You know, we had 4 or 5 one-hour sessions, and he told me the whole story. And so he'd already, in a sense, put it out there already. You know? Vishwambar Goswami, who was many years the mayor of Vrindavan and a very good friend of Prabhupada, I have 4 one-hour interviews with Vishwambar Goswami. Madhu Pandit, the old Radio Ram shows. This is J.B. Hunter down at Big Bang Constructions. Come on down and see us. We'll promise you the house of your dreams. You just pick out the lot and all the building materials, and we'll pile them all in one place, and then we'll add our special ingredient, dynamite, invented by the Nobel people. And we'll pile everything up there, and we'll blow up your house. And if you don't get exactly the right house you want with the right configuration, right colors, our promise down here at Big Bang Constructions is that we'll blow and we'll keep blowing and we'll keep blowing until you get just the house you want. So come on now, Big Bang Constructions. It's hilarious. Yeah, we've got all that vintage stuff on our radio. Probably, maybe not anywhere else to be found. I don't know.
Is that the Big Bang Theory? That's the Big Bang Theory?
Big Bang Theory.
That's the Big Bang Theory?
That's another one. That's a skit called The Primordial Soup. Gloria, what seems to the problem? I don't know. People just can't seem to buy our primeval soup. But he says, that's all right, as long as the majority like it, or something like that. Yes.
I want to comment and question. Thank you, first of all, thank you for this wonderful class in Purifying Appreciation. I do this adage, I want to submit it whether it goes well, that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
Exactly.
And another question is that it is, Krishna says, Chaturvida bhajante mam, jana sakritanam uchindar artha arthati janjidasya bharatastama. So, in suffering, some people come to Krishna. But what element separates the one who comes to him in suffering or rather pain and who goes away from him in pain?
It may be their time, it may not be their time. We all have people that we would like to connect with Krishna consciousness. They're suffering in their life from lack of meaningfulness, they're feel of great despair, desolation, they don't have the right association, their diet is improper, and we talk to them, we try to guide them on the right path, but they're just resistant to all of our overtures, and that means it's not their time. But we can pray to Krishna. Krishna's in their heart. And when it's the right time, he will, the same words we'll actually find a place. I myself met devotees on the street for the first time in Australia in 1970. I was coming home from work, and to my surprise, there was a devotee. His name was Upendra. And he told me, practically the first words he said were, love of God is like a seed within your heart. It's already there. You just have to water it, and the watering process is chanting Hare Krishna. He also said God is a person. So my background, my parents were very pious. When I lived in my father's house, I had to go to church every week. That was non-negotiable. When I went to prep school, we went to chapel before we went to class every day. And I probably heard things similar to, not that Hare Krishna, but maybe the love of God in a general sense is within your heart. God is a person. I'm sure I'd heard that many, many times before. But it never took root. It wasn't my time. And the person delivering the message didn't have the potency. Our Episcopalian priest went to a hospital for alcoholism. So maybe, the same words from his mouth didn't have the same potency as a devotee. But we just have to trust that Krishna knows what he's doing. Oftentimes, those years of meaninglessness and purposelessness and despair, oftentimes they'll help someone to appreciate devotional service better and to take up the practice of devotional service more seriously. You look at St. Thomas Aquinas, you look at St. Francis. They led lives of debauchees up until the approximate age of 27, and then they became great devotees, St. Augustine. So all I can say is that Krishna knows what he's doing. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you for the lecture. So yesterday, a friend of mine, an Indian body gentleman, he said, an Indian body gentleman friend of mine, he said, I tried chanting, but actually I found that when I chant, it takes my mind away from Krishna. And a very nice friend of mine. But so I didn't. How do you react to that? So I didn't say anything.
You just have to look at him like, are you serious? I mean, look at, did you just say that? Nectar Devotion asked that same question. Is it possible to chant Hare Krishna and not become Krishna conscious? The answer is no. So he's just not being honest with himself. That's all there is to it. Again, that first devotee I met during that initial conversation, he challenged me. I didn't believe in God, I didn't disbelieve in God. So he said, he threw down the glove. He said, I challenge you. Get some beads and chant 5 minutes a day for a week. And if after that you honestly tell me that you're not more God conscious, then that's it. We'll have no more dealings. I won't say another word to you. Well, I tried that, and it worked. Over and above all the church going, all the sermonizing, and all the exposure to which I've been subjected, that 5 minutes a day, total of 35 minutes chanting a week, changed my life totally. Changed my life totally. So I think your friend is, he's playing games with you.
Yeah, he is very stressed.
You don't have to take him that seriously. Again, just, pray that Krishna, that he'll learn to be more honest with himself.
Another quick question. So I saw on social media that Prabhupada was advised from he was in pretty much at the ending stages of his life, and they brought this doctor who was a priest also, and the priest told him, the doctor told Prabhupada, it was a private conversation, but just the doctor and Prabhupada, and I guess Prabhupada told his disciples what happened, and so they wrote it. And he said, you're falling sick because they have your murti in the temple in front of Radha Krishna. They're also praying to you, and you're getting all their sins on your body. So I'm kind of so confused by this. And how do you interpret, or how do you understand? What is your way of understanding this?
When the disciples are faithfully engaged in starting devotional service, if they come up against adversity, just like we're talking about, and they have the right attitude, Prabhupada's right there with them. That's the fruit of being connected to the spiritual master. The fruit is that you don't back off, you don't get discouraged. You take the good with the bad. In fact, you don't see the bad, you see everything is good. The spiritual master is always with such a disciple. But if you put conditions, well, I'll follow Krishna this far and not any further, or only if Krishna does this for me, but that, and then because I put so many conditions on my service, if Krishna doesn't fulfill my conditions, then I don't want to be faithful to Krishna. I don't want to continue to be enthusiastic. So then there becomes a divergence between your consciousness and the consciousness of the spiritual master. Spiritual master is not going to accept the reactions of your superciliousness. Spiritual master is meant to get you in the pool first, and then as you follow the orders of the spiritual master, you build yourself up, you create your spiritual muscles, you strengthen your faith, and under the guidance of the spiritual master, you go from the kiddie pool into the deep water, where you can swim on your own, where nothing will shake you from your. So, if you follow that, if you progress as you should, spiritual master is always with you, and he will buffer you. He will protect you if necessary. He will take, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did with Haridas Thakur, the lashes. But if you are not faithful, if you want to just cut and run the first time something goes against you, then your relationship with the spiritual, then he doesn't take responsibility for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why should he? You're not under his protection. You're not trusting him. We only have one thing to do. When you come down to it, we only have one thing to do, and that is to trust the Lord, especially in adversity. And if we trust the Lord, then the Lord's going to take Tatu Nakam Shushumik Shamano Vibabu Kavira Jiveti Yo Mukti Padasadaeva. Someone in this life who under all circumstances trusts the Lord, never cuts and runs, never gives up, never throws in the towel, moves forward, just like these devotees have done with this temple for over 15 years. This is the classic example of faithfulness to the spiritual master. Then you're under the divine protection. Mahatmanas Tamam Parta, Devim Prakritam, Gajantyana, Gyagabuddhidhamapyana. So don't think of the alternatives. Don't run all the what-if scenarios in your head. Just do what you've already promised to do at the time of getting initiated. So it's kind of hot in here.
Yeah, it's time.
But yeah, thank you. It's always a wonderful, uplifting trip for me to come to Tuaco and see the Herculean endeavors of the devotees here. And no one, obviously it's not true, but I feel like I should say that I'm not going to say no one will be happier than me, because I know that Nilamani, they'll be happier than me, but I will be as happy as anybody when you finish this temple, and I hope that I can come also when it's open and chant Hare Krishna with all these great souls.
Everybody,
Thank you.
you never see what you can.
That's a thought.